Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Steve Eisenstadt's Facebook Live, his open house for the Certificate 1, Dream Tending and Deep Imagination. As most of you know, Dr. Eisenstadt is the founder of Dream Tending, Pacifica Graduate Institute, and the Academy of Imaginal Arts and Sciences. He has lectured and given seminars around the world for over 30 years. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stephen Eisenstadt.
Well, thank you, Heidi. I do appreciate that. And welcome, everybody. Some of you I have perhaps known for some time. Really good to have you here again. For others, it's your first time joining us. It's a pleasure to receive you really into what it is to be part of the Dream Tending Deep Imagination community. So here's what I'm thinking about. Today, what we're going to do is certainly highlight the Certificate 1 program. It's one of my favorite programs. It's the program that really, in a curious way, launched the Dream Tending initiative. It's gone through early formulation and then over the years has gathered momentum and now is in a, just a beautifully settled place. So we're going to get there and I'm going to walk us through the 4 modules and introduce you to what's possible for you personally and what happens in community while we're in that experience. So we'll go there. But first, let's do something else, right? Why don't you join me in this? We're all coming from the busyness, necessary busyness in some instances of the world, for sure, right? And particularly now with so much online activity, we are always filled with this, that, and the other. So, we're asked to use our rational mind quite a bit. Nothing wrong with that. It's important. We need to get the tasks done. We need to be accountable to certain things. We need to fulfill obligations, make sure to watch the calendar, the schedule for the day, make sure to keep up with emails, texts, and everything else, for sure. And two, there's something else, of course. It's the very thing, my guess, is that brings us together over these next 30 minutes or so. So let's take a moment and touch in there from the rational mind, something else into that other place, the other side, lunar consciousness, which is another way of saying not so rationally oriented, imaginal, dream related. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask you to take a moment, pause, come into that receptive mode. Breath deepens. For some of you, eyes will close. And perhaps the reflective question is, what's bringing you here? What is bringing you here now? What we will be exploring and what you'll be invited into is the possibility to be part of an extended community of people interested in imagination and dream. What perhaps in your history, or what dreams coming up over the last year or so, or what in your professional life or family life, brings you into consideration of deepening more fully still with a community of like-minded others, into this dimension, into this experience, into this quality of consciousness that holds imagination, that is of imagination and dream. So let me quiet down and, just 30 seconds or so, reflective inquiry. What brings me here now? And okay, when you're ready, only when you're ready, beginning to come back into community slowly, gently, eyes awakening, opening, you know. Actually, when I work with Dream all through the decades now, and I've been working with Dream in many, many countries around the world for many decades with literally hundreds, if not thousands of people. And there's some guiding questions, and they really underpin this approach that we've named dream tending, to tend to a dream rather than to analyze or interpret it so quickly, to tend, to listen in, to be part of a dreaming experience and allowing the dream to come forward on its own behalf and share its stories, right? And as I'm going to share with you in just a moment, even those dreams that are difficult, problematic, nightmarish, right? We take a lot of time to really engage those particular figures and images. They have so much to say. If they scare us, of course, yes, but that's not okay to be caught in the fear or the horror of those figures. So we'll talk about ways of coming to the nightmarish imagery, the horrific image, as we say, in ways that are generative, constructive, right? Safe, caring. We'll do that. But one of the things I want to say is here at the beginning, that question, what brings us here? The same question we can ask when we start to listen to the dream, right? Not what does the dream mean? So quickly we all go there. That's 99% of dream tending methodologies and approaches. What does this dream mean? What does it have to do with me, right? How is everything in the dream a part of myself? All right. Is that useful? That kind of interest and inquiry? Yeah, of course it is. And of course we touch there, but that's just the beginning, right? The next question underneath that is, who's visiting now? Notice what happens there. Who's visiting now? Way different orientation from the very beginning in relation to listening to dream. Who's visiting now? What's happening here? Getting curious, going from the rational mind of deductive reasoning and interpretation, even analysis, into the curiosity. What's happening here? We become a naturalist of the psyche and getting curious about what in fact is going on in the dreamscape itself. Because right, when our eyes close and something else comes awake, dreams present. They present themselves on behalf of themselves. And we see ourselves sometimes, maybe 60, 70% of the time, we'll see somebody that looks like us in the dream. Sometimes not even, right? But you always have to wonder, if I'm in the dream, who's dreaming the dream? And that's what we get interested in. The dreaming psyche, alive, vital, vibrant, with an intelligence of its own, dreaming through images that land in the motif that is our dream. We're in the theater of the night and experiencing those figures. And what we're going to do in the certificate program is learn the different ways and the different methods and the different approaches to really befriending, to hosting, to listening in to what presents at night. What's the end game? Just right here, right now, up front. The end game is to hear into the intelligence, let's say the imaginal intelligence of the psyche, presenting itself in the realm, dimension of dream, and allowing dreams to come forward and inform our life. And they do in extraordinary ways. Oh my goodness, in terms of my own personal life, dreams have been, a guiding light. They talk to me about, what choices to make. They inspire in terms of creative possibility. They lend themselves to innovation, creativity, dream, opening imagination. So that's what we'll do. We'll move through the 4 modules. I'll go 1 module at a time. Then we have 2 people here today, Alexa and Manny. They're people that have been in Certificate 1. You can ask me questions after if you have anything at all that you're interested in, particularly in related to the certificate program, and 2, anything at all about dream. And then we'll invite Alexa and Manny as well to share their direct experience. I've always found that when you listen to people that have been in the training, in the process, and hear, what's happened to them as a result, it's really good information, isn't it? Really helpful. So we've invited them. We haven't shared a word as what to say or what to do. They'll just respond out of their direct experience, their actual experience of what it was like to be in the Certificate 1 program. Okay, so let's start with Certificate 1, and we'll start with Module 1. What is Module 1? And you can see Course 1 is on the living image, And just notice on your screen, we began with the tool set. What are the skills and the methods of understanding and tending dreams, right? The living image is the heartbeat of this approach. It's so interesting, right? Dream tending here and now, coming forward. Of course, experiencing dreams as alive, the images as embodied, right? That is an approach that goes back literally thousands of years, right? Native peoples, indigenous peoples, so many healers, medicine people have always experienced dreams as alive. I mean, something does come awake when eyes close. Images come forward and present themselves on behalf of themselves. They don't come forward as explanations. They do not come forward as interpretations. They don't. They come forward as living entities, and they interact with one another. So that first module is actually learning the tool set. What are the particular tools of working with images as if they were alive, as they are? They're imaginal entities, of course, and yet they have a presence and a pulse, a breath of their own. And as I said, they interact with one another, and they have stories to tell. Most important, right? They have stories to tell. We can listen in, if we can cultivate the tools and the craft of listening to the images talk on behalf of themselves. Oh, the learning, the teaching, the wisdom that comes forward is extraordinary. So we start there. And what you'll learn in that first module is how to listen to dream, host the dream, really be part of a dreamscape that comes alive. Do we do that in a way that is pushy? Of course not. We do that in a way that is, how should I say, friendly, right? We befriend the image. What I know is like a good friend. To the extent that you bring attention, awareness, curiosity to that friend responds. To the extent we interpret, we judge, we bring critique to the friend, of course, there's a distance that gets created. So we talk about what it is to befriend the image. First piece, of course, is to develop a safety, a protection, and support. Because going into any relationship, how do I feel a sense of support, a sense of care, protection? So we start there, build the foundation first, and then move into listening to the images of dream, the living images of dream, letting them speak on behalf of themselves, telling their stories. Of course, in the first module, we also talk about the ways of remembering dreams. We talk about common dream themes. We covered the basics in that first module, the beginning, the middle, the end of the dream, how to listen deeply to dream. There's a whole skill set in terms of being present, listening, creating the empathetic regard, the open space to host the dream. And what you'll know, for those of you that are clinicians, and many people come from the helping professions, you'll notice immediately as I'm working, because I am a therapist, a clinician, clinical psychologist, marriage family therapist, professor, founded Pacifica, dream tending, now the Academy of Imaginal Arts and Sciences. So I've had lots of experience in working both clinically and in the context of education, research, and as a professor. So in the training, we need to first situate ourselves in the presence of the dream, right? So we look at what is the nature of the field that exists between the dreamer, the dream tender, and the images themselves. We take up transference, countertransference. We move that out into an intersubjective imaginal field. Now, if that sounds a bit complicated, it's not truly. And what I do is demonstrate every module, every piece of training is companioned with my demonstrating, working with somebody in the community, right? And then in turn, letting people practice the skills with one another. So it's lecture, demonstration, practice, and lots of community, right? We need community. Community offers support, it offers insight, it offers resource, it sustains our activity between the modules. We do mid-module meetings and so on and so forth. So community building becomes important. Therefore, ritual is important. And we evoke ritual and we offer, kind of art modes of artistic expression to give dreams the animated spark that's so useful. And now I use that word animated. So let me just do this for module 1. We're going to learn how to first associate to dreams. What are the methods of association? Then what are the methods of amplification? Associative methods are very, what do I want to say? Familiar, traditional. The methods of the amplificatory methodology, amplification comes with the Jungian oriented psychological approaches. Very, very helpful to listen to the teaching stories that are embedded in the psyche, the archetypal patterns and motifs. And then we move into something new, and that's the new piece, right? In that first module, we get exposed to this notion of animation. We go from association, amplification, animation, and we take the time. And I demonstrate, and you'll practice, and you'll really get a sense of that skill set, because that's going to be so helpful to us as we move to the second course, which has to do with nightmares, right? When I do Facebook Live now, which I do, nightmares, of course, is the topic of topics in the world of today. And I do that. It's a privilege. It is a privilege for me, as I think you're going to find once you are equipped with these skills. It'll be a privilege for you too, I'm certain, to be with people that are so, clutched, sometimes even possessed by these nightmarish images. It's so difficult. I mean, really, honestly, it's hard to get 24 hours without some piece of the media bombarding us with some of the horrors that are going on in the world. I don't even name them. The spectrum. It's omnipresent. And I work with kids and I work in schools sometimes. And, particularly young ones, we analyze the climate change catastrophe that's going on. And, we hear the governmental reports and the scientists talk about, we see the implications on the media. We see all that. The truth is, yes, particularly young people, it's the instinctual body, the animal body that picks it up. They pick up the actuality of what's happening in the world on planet. And that, of course, comes forward in dream and in images of dream. And they're very frightening. So what are the ways of working with nightmarish imagery that can be safe? As I said, how do you develop the necessary support and protection to then come into terms with nightmares so that we can hear into the generative quality? Now, you listen to that and it may even sound like, oh, yeah, sure, right. You're going to make something better. Really, what I'd rather do is just get rid of the nightmares. Please, just let me get a good night's sleep, please, right? How can I distract myself away from the nightmares? Right? Of course, that's people's natural reaction. What I've discovered, though, is that, believe it or not, the nightmarish image, as horrifying as it can be, and it is, I don't want to understate that, it is very, very difficult, sometimes even torturous, right? And particularly they recur again and again and again, which they do for some people. For some of us, it's been going on since we've been little children, and we get the same theme repeating. We talk a lot about repeating themes in dreams over the years, even over the decades, over different phases of life, right? Something happens in the contemporary scene that triggers this repeating theme. So nightmares. So we learn the skill set, and there's a very specific 6-step skill set that is really something to learn. And then we open that up and we practice and we practice and we work with expressive arts. We actually work with masks at this point with nightmarish images. Why? Because there is, I am convinced, a generative spark in the nightmarish image. It gets our attention. The psyche gets our attention with nightmare. It does. So it calls attention to perhaps something in the last 24, 48 hours that's really needing a closer look. Of course, that we have to visit that first. It's the associative process. Second, we think in terms of some of the archetypal motifs that are informing the teaching lessons of culture, the wisdom teachings. Yes, we take a look there. And then something else. Remember that idea of animation that we learned in Living Image? We then take that skill set and we begin to work with the nightmarish image when appropriate with the skills of animation. Now people ask, well, wait a minute, isn't that going to open up something that's so scary and terrifying that it's going to re-trigger my past fear? I mean, I don't want to do that. That's not good for me. The answer is yeah. We do go we consider that. We go very carefully. We build the foundation first, always. What is the capacity to feel secure, to feel really supported, protected first? Then begin to open up the story gradually, one step at a time, with the images that come forward that are so frightening. Yeah, we do that. It's important for us individually. Clearly, it's important to us as a collective. The beauty of working in community, which we'll be working in the dream tending community, is that we have one another to really work with and partner. We make sure that everybody's companioned with somebody that they feel comfortable with. Each person finding somebody that they feel particularly comfortable with. We companion and work together and really open these things up that alone are way too scary and terrifying. Collectively, together, particularly with a good companion, better. Now, I'm going to notice time on that word companion. Let me just share a takeaway. Companion. There are external companions, right? The people that we're going to be in community with, and friends and family and others that are supportive. There are internal soul companions, right? Companions that we befriend, that we get to know. The figures that come forward and dream, that we develop a deepened relationship. Those two become very important inner companions, right? And when the nightmare comes, sometimes, in fact, more often than not, it's very helpful to have those companions, those allies right on our side as we tend to the images that are so frightening. For us, we're scared, we're reactive, past experience, there's patterns at work, ooh. But for some of the companions that we've developed friendship with, easier to go forward. All right, let's go to the third course, the third module. That module has to do with the world stream. So let me just touch on this. We need to do this. It's important. It's perhaps one of the most deeply felt of the four modules, right? Why? Because we're taking into consideration what's going on in the world psyche, the world soul. I founded Pacifica 45 now years ago. And its intention, the motto, the mission, the value proposition, the intention was for the sake of tending psyche in and of the world. Anima mundi calende gratia, for the sake of tending soul of the world. The world soul, that's where we're wanting to bring our attention, the psyche of world. Let me give you the takeaway real fast. The creatures, the things, the landscapes, in the world, dream. We pick up their voices in the images of our dream. It's as if, the mountain has a song, the lake, the tree has a story to tell, right? We know that in an animated world, most people that have come onto the planet have experienced, not any longer, but most people have experienced the world, the planet, the creatures, the things, the landscapes as animated, as alive in their own particular way. Could it be possible that those living ecosystems, those creatures and those entities could present themselves? And where would we hear their voice? In the psyche and the world, in the dimension of dreams. So we spend a lot of time discovering that. It's very, very moving. It's touching. Of course, there's grief. Yes. How could there not be? And two, that grief yields to the generative possibility, the coding that is really part of our inheritance from the beginning that we have perhaps forgotten, the pull of the future, working as much as the situation of the day and the trauma of the past, the generative spark of the future presented in the place of dream. The world needs that and this of us now. As we need the world, it too needs us to co-create and look at the next possibilities. For those of you working with kids, you know, people in their 20s, just in conversations with one another, working in NGOs, working on behalf of environmental considerations, working in corporations, in schools and institutions, this module is really helpful. I mean, it's practical. This is the work that I take when I'm working with city councils, when I'm working at the United Nations, which I do a lot of work with. This is the skill set that we can use in the world in practical and applied ways. All right, quickly, let's go to module 4. This is the module that people really find deep resonance to. This is the module 4, is the module where we work with medicines of the soul, the healing practices of dream work. So people find this very touching. We talk about the actuality of physical afflictions, of illness, disease syndromes, and how do dreams help us and support us there. And there, you know, that's been true since early times, where dreams have been used medicinally to work in conjunction with, you know, very supportive medical care with the professionals that we work with, our healthcare providers. Dreams offer so much guidance. They have medicinal qualities. So everything, you know, I'm not going to name that here and now, but let me do it. From arthritis to cancer to COVID, right? Dreams, the imagery in dreams helps as an adjunctive medicine, as an adjunctive healing care. Dreams have so much to offer. I know that because we work in what's called a healing sanctuary with people who come in with all kinds of very serious affliction. And we work with Dream as a center police in conjunction with healthcare providers. And we get so much out of that. I mean, it's a whole conversation. We even, in the certificate program as a community, we set up a healing sanctuary. We do it either in residence or online virtually. We set up a healing sanctuary and we incubate dreams. We go into what's called the abaton, the dream chamber, the sleep chamber, and listen for the healing dream. The idea being that the God that wounds also heals, to use the metaphor, right? The figures that come forward that are wounded in dream also hold the medicines that are so helpful in conjunction with medical care to release apart our healing processes. Okay, so it's an extraordinary 4th module. Of course, in that last module, we then are really, I know we're pretty bonded in community at that point. So we support one another. We have rituals of transition, knowing that we've been in community. Now we're going to transition from community. We set up ways of staying in contact, extending our community. We are in community, which is the most important, I think. We are part of something that holds us as we hold community. We allow the dreams to come forward and be part of a dreaming community and imagination. We really open ourselves to the depths of imagination and dream. Okay, so remember, questions, great. Make sure that you start to write those questions in the chat box. And then I'm going to offer both Manny and Alexa some time and space to talk about their direct experience in the Certificate 1 program. And then you can ask questions, and we'll go back and forth for 10 minutes or so and get as many of those questions answered as we can. Alexa, do you want to start? What comes to your mind in terms of your direct experience in Certificate 1? And Alexa, yeah, just unmute. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so many things are coming to my mind right now. The first one was that since childhood, I've always been an active dreamer, but it felt like dreams were far away. It didn't occur to me that like dreams could be so integrated into my waking life. And that's really like one of the biggest things that I've taken away. And that merges with the whole concept of community. I never knew that dreams and community could be together, and considering that there is even a dream community and outer community. So I have a partner who I dream tend with every week. I have a group of dreamers where every other week we get together and we create art. based of our dreams. These are things that I never would have even considered before in my life. It's actually like, it sounds cheesy to say, but it really has changed my life. So, and I just had no idea that all of this was out there. And not to mention also, I received like physical healing on my body through dream work that we did together, and then watching you work. So yeah, all of these things.
Yeah, thank you, Alexa. Great. What we're going to do is go to Manny, and then we're going to open it up, let people ask questions of any one of the three of us. Thank you. Manny, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, yes, Steve. I took notes because I get nervous talking on camera. But yeah, so 2 years ago, I began my clinical work as a therapist. And previously, I had some experience working with dreams, but in small groups. However, I wanted more training working one-on-one with clients. So that's when I enrolled into the PhD program at Pacifica. And that's where I found Steve and this dream tending certificate, which beautifully incorporates like active imagination techniques and breathes life into dream images, allowing the images to come to life in the therapy room. So yeah, I guess for me, this program really gave me a new tool for my therapeutic toolbox, but it also helped me on my own personal journey for self-awareness. So yeah, thank you, Steve, for creating this space for us dreamers to gather, but also a space to experience the numinous quality of working with dream. I'm one of the co-hosts for one of the group dream interest groups, and I co-host the numinous dream states. So yeah, so just through this program, I was able to not only learn from Steve, but also learn from my peers in more of a community learning platforms, and that's what I love. I love learning from multiple people with their previous experience with dreams and working with dreams, because again, many cultures around the world works with dreams, and everyone has a little bit different techniques. And I love to learn from everyone that gathers in these programs, because Steve reaches out and just gathers these beautiful people from around the world, and it's just amazing how many different people and backgrounds and countries and experiences we have to pull from. So thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, and Alexa, have you evolved a part of an interest group at the moment as well? You're part of a dream group for sure. That, yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of the art. Well, actually, I just joined Manny's group, but I'm also part of a creativity group. And I'm an artist. I'm a photographer, and it is actually radically changing the way that I'm approaching my photography work, my relationship with creativity. It's deeply inspiring. And I love the images and photos that I've been creating in videos. Now I'm making dream videos, which I have never done before. So.
That people that are involved with particular areas of interest find each other in community so that they can continue the conversation, deepen the conversation among themselves. So Heidi, let me invite you in, and questions in the chat, anything that you'd like to open up and ask any one of the three of us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. This is great. Yeah, we've had a number of questions in the chat. So one is it a requirement to have been in a course with Steve to enter the certificate program?
Yeah, and the answer to that is yes and no. It's not a requirement to be in a course with Steve to be part of the program. However, if you have not had a background, we're going to ask you to look at a few things. We have a number of things recorded that you can acquaint yourself with, a couple sections, a couple readings, and so on, so that everybody has a bit of a ground. And Heidi we have an application to get into the program. It's not extensive, but it is important to be oriented around dream. The most important thing, honestly, is curiosity and interest in imagination and dream. You know, the people that do particularly well are people that are interested in opening and extending their creative capacities. We have people that are in all different experiences: engineers, physicians, college professors, teachers, artists, musicians. There's just a whole range of people. The one thing everybody has in common is curiosity. So I think that would be, if we were to write, what is the criteria? Being curious and open. Okay, Heidi. Well, let me ask, Alexa and or Manny, anything to add to that?
I just have to say that curiosity, now I see curiosity in a even deeper way as medicine itself. But curiosity was the portal that it like brought me in and through, and now it's become medicine in a sense.
Great.
And I would also add respect, because this process becomes very intimate, and vulnerability is a must, and respect for other people is required for this space to be as much as it is for us, at least in our cohort.
Yeah, perfect. Heidi, do you have one or two others, please?
I do have another question is, I am working with clients and would like to bring their dreams as well to the class. Is that possible?
Yes. I mean, that's a simple answer. Yes. And the way we do that, people will share their own dream when we do certain things in terms of really deepening personal experience and dream work and watching me work. When you watch me work, I'll work with actual dreams of people in the community. When we go into discussion, an example, and I will bring in different experiences and cases of people that I've worked with, and then I'll invite others to do the same. And then their interest group happens, right? Then one of the interest groups happens to be people working clinically. So then they will share with one another. I'll drop in, questions will happen. So there's lots of room for that. I am a clinician. So I do make sure that I forever talk about the clinical aspects of working with dream in relation to working with others. Okay, Heidi, another question.
Thank you. Yes. What's the time commitment for taking the program?
Well, that's a good question. I'll respond, but then I'm going to invite Manny and Alexa. Certainly being present during the 3 days is important, right? Obviously. And we ask that everybody's, that you're part of the community. If we're in social media, we all keep our cameras on. We are engaged. We don't even need to make the request, honestly. It just is an organic process. People want to be engaged and interactive. Then think about it. What happens next? To really deepen into the experience is to say to oneself, look, I'm taking time in my life here and now to engage the dream time, to really be inside rather than just reading a few things topically and learning a skill set. I'm really wanting to ingest dream work into my life and see how that moves, particularly in relation to imagination. So we ask people to, hey, I teach the skills of remembering dreams, keep a dream journal. So, in the morning, waking up and writing down dreams. We ask people to engage in activities, working with their dreams. So you can think of creating time during the week to interact with dreams. You're going to want to take some time to work with your dream partner, to work with one another's dream, practice the skill set. We do not do extensive reading, although we offer extensive reading, but it's not like going to graduate school where you're required to write papers or it's mandatory to do the reading. We offer enough of the reading that it'll evoke curiosity and interest, and what you're interested and curious in, that's what you'll be reading. So the commitment of time and energy is in your interest area, in the passion that's moving through you, and it has its own self-reward, honestly, right? Once I start, I'll just speak for myself, but I'm going to ask Manny and Alexa to share as well. Once I get into the practice, it's not like I have to force myself. I kind of get into the rhythm of doing it, and that becomes part of my daily work. So let me go Alexa first, then Manny second. How would you respond?
Yeah, I would say that it's completely up to you how much time other than the modules. But I know for myself, what started out as feeling like, oh, could this be like a chore? Am I going to be over involved? Or the more that I'm dream tending, the more I want to dream tend. Now it's like the more the images are coming forward and the dreams want to be known, and it's become a process that's so integrated now. Like I would say I probably spend several hours a week at this point, at least, between maybe a call, but some weeks there'll be zero. It's like whatever wants to come forward, but I just feel better. I want the time wants to be there in a sense. And so it doesn't ever feel, I have zero feeling of obligation. It's just good. So, so some weeks is 0 and some weeks it's a couple hours.
Yes, and just my experience is that, yeah, I mean, the more time that someone puts in, the more you're going to get out of the program. So it's definitely up to everybody to pick and choose what energy they can commit at which week and which module. However, me and a few of my peers, we have our work, we also have our school program, and then we do the certificate program. And yeah, I haven't felt personally that it has weighed any more or taken up any more of my time. That's just my experience. I mean, there's no homework, there's no tests. Basically, it's just the experience, and you can literally just show up for the Zoom sessions those 3 days every other month, and get all the work that needs to be done in those time slots. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let me, on behalf of everybody that's listening, let me thank you, Manny, and you, Alexa, and Heidi, and all the people that are helping making this happen. Heidi, we're going to give you the last words. Any logistics, any framing that you want to do? That would be a great time.
Thank you so much. What I'd like to do, and I'd like to invite everyone to contact me so that I can give you more information, more detailed information about the program. And I'm at Heidi@dreamtending.com. And we would love to have you in the program that starts on November 1st. So please contact me with any further questions you have. Thank you. And I'll put my information in the chat box.
Yeah, do that. And what did you mention today in an earlier meeting? What is the deal going through August 31st?
Yes, through August 31st there is a 10% discount on the program, which is significant. And you can call me to get the full pricing on the different levels that are available. And so that would really help facilitate your enrollment in the program. We welcome your questions and would love to have you enroll with that. So it is, again, good through August 31st. And my phone number is 805-770-0192. And it's just been a delight to have you all here, and we would love to have you in the program.
Wow, that's nice. Thanks, Heidi. All righty, folks. I look forward, for those of you that this is the right time, the right place, look forward to greeting you, to being part of it with you. I just have to say, we have had such a deeply rewarding experience with the Certificate 1 program. It's really been heart touching, soul touching. So for those of you that this is the right time, we look forward to being part of that with you. Thank you for joining us. And again, any questions on any level, in any dimension, just call Heidi or write to email Heidi, and she'll get right back to you. And it'll be very personal and particular. Thank you all, and see you soon.